Part 2. No man is free who is a slave to the flesh. Seneca. It had been almost 3 months since Colonel Bradford's return from Tibet and India, and a great deal had happened in that time. I had immediately begun practicing the 5 rites and was greatly pleased with the excellent results. The colonel had been away tending to personal matters, so I had been out of contact with him for some time. When he finally phoned me again, I eagerly told him all about my progress, and I assured him that I had already demonstrated to my complete satisfaction how very effective the rites can be. In fact, I had become so enthusiastic about the rites, I was eager to pass the information on to others who might also benefit. So, I asked the colonel if he would consider leading a class. He agreed that it was a good idea and said that he would do it, but only on 3 conditions. The first condition was that the class must contain a cross-section of men and women from all walks of life, professionals, blue-collar workers, homemakers, and so on. The second condition was that no member of the class could be under 50 years of age, though they could be 100 or more if I could find anyone that old willing to participate. The colonel insists on this, even though the 5 rites are equally beneficial to younger people. And the third condition was that the class be limited to 15 members. This came as a considerable disappointment to me because I had envisioned a much larger group. After trying without success to persuade the colonel to change his mind, I agreed to all 3 conditions. Before long, I had managed to assemble a group that met all of the requirements, and right from the beginning the class was a huge success. We met once a week, and as early as the 2nd week, I thought I could see signs of improvement in several of its members. However, the colonel had asked us not to discuss our progress with one another, and I had no way of knowing whether the others would agree. Then, at the end of the month, my uncertainty was put to rest. We held a kind of testimonial meeting, at which all of us were invited to share our results. Everyone present reported at least some improvement. Some had glowing accounts of progress, and a few of these could even be called remarkable. A man nearly 75 had made more gains than any of the others. Weekly meetings of the Himalayan Club, as we named it, continued. When the 10th week finally came, practically all of the members were performing all of the 5 rites 21 times a day. All claimed not only to be feeling better, they also believed that they were looking younger, and several even joked that they were no longer telling their real ages. This reminded me that when we had asked the colonel his age some weeks back, he had said that he would hold that information until the end of the 10th week. Well, the time had arrived, but as yet the colonel hadn't put in an appearance. Someone suggested that each of us guess the colonel's age and write it on a slip of paper. Then, when the truth was announced, we could see who came closest. We agreed to do this, and the slips of paper were being collected as Colonel Bradford walked in. When we explained what we were up to, Colonel Bradford said, "Bring them here so I can see how well you've done, and then I'll tell you what my age really is." In an amused voice, the colonel read each of the slips aloud. Everyone had guessed him to be in his 40s, and most had guessed the early 40s. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "thank you for your very generous compliments. And since you've been honest with me, I'll be the same with you. I shall be 73 years of age on my next birthday." At first, everyone stared at him in disbelief. Was it really possible for a 73-year-old man to look nearly half his age? Then, it occurred to them to ask why had the colonel achieved results so much more dramatic than their own. "In the first place," the colonel explained, "you have been doing this wonderful work for only 10 weeks. When you have been at it 2 years, you will see a much more pronounced change. But there is more to it than just that. I haven't told you all there is to know." Rite number 6. I have given you 5 rites, which are for the purpose of restoring youthful health and vitality. They will also help you regain a younger appearance. But if you really want to completely restore the health and appearance of youth, there is a 6th rite which you must practice. I've said nothing about it up until now because it would have been useless to you without having first obtained good results from the other 5. The colonel warned them that in order to take advantage of this 6th rite, they would have to accept a very difficult step resistant. He suggested that they take some time to consider whether they were willing to do this for the rest of their lives. And he invited those who wished to go on with rite number 6 to return the following week. After thinking it over, only 5 of the group came back. Though the colonel said this was a better showing than he had experienced with any of his classes in India. When he told them about this additional rite, the colonel made it clear that it will lift up the body's reproductive energy. This lifting up process would cause not only the mind to be renewed, but the entire body as well. But he warned that this would entail a restriction which most people were unwilling to accept. The colonel continued with this explanation. In the average man or woman, part, often a large part, of the vital life force that feeds the 7 vortexes is channeled into reproductive energy. So much of it is dissipated in the lower vortexes that it never has a chance to reach the higher ones. In order to become a superman or superwoman, this powerful life force must be conserved and turned upward, so that it can be utilized by all of the vortexes, especially the 7th. In other words, it is necessary to become celibate, so that reproductive energy can be rechanneled to the higher use. Now, turning this vital life force upward is a very simple matter, and yet though the centrist people attempting it have usually failed. In the West, whole religious orders have tried this very thing and failed because they sought to master reproductive energy by suppressing it. There is only one way to master this powerful urge, and that is not by dissipating or suppressing it, but by transmuting it, and at the same time lifting it upward. In this way, you have not only discovered the elixir of life, as the ancients called it, you have also put it to use, which is something the ancients were seldom able to do. Now, rite number 6 is the easiest thing in the world to perform. It should be practiced only when you feel an excess of sexual energy, and there is a natural desire for its expression. Fortunately, this rite is so simple that you can do it anywhere, at any time, whenever the urge is felt. Here's all you do. Stand straight up and slowly let all of the air out of your lungs. As you do this, bend over and put your hands on your knees. Force out the last trace of air, and then, with your lungs empty, return to a standing up posture. Place your hands on your hips and press down on them. This will push your shoulders up. As you do this, pull in the abdomen as much as possible, and at the same time raise your chest. Now, hold this position as long as you possibly can. When you are finally forced to take air into your empty lungs, let the air flow in through your nose. When your lungs are full, breathe out through your mouth and relax your arms, letting them hang naturally at your sides. Then, through either your nose or your mouth, breathe in and out deeply several times. This constitutes one complete performance of rite number 6. About 3 repetitions are required for most people to redirect sexual energy and turn its powerful force upward. There is only one difference between a person who is healthy and vital and one who is a superman or superwoman. The former channels the vital life force into sexual energy, while the later turns this force upward to create balance and harmony through all of the 7 vortexes. That's why a superman or superwoman grows younger and younger day by day and moment by moment. They create within themselves the true elixir of life. Now, you can understand that the fountain of youth was within me all the time. The 5 rites or 6 To be more precise, we are merely a key that unlocked the door. When I recalled Ponce de Leon and his futile search for the fountain of youth, I think what a pity it was that he journeyed so far in order to come up empty-handed. He could have achieved his goal without ever leaving home. But like me, he believed that the fountain of youth must be in some distant corner of the world. He never suspected that all the time it was right within himself. Please understand that in order to perform a rite number 6, it is absolutely necessary that an individual have active sexual urge. He or she will not possibly transmute reproductive energy if they wear little or nothing to work with. It is absolutely impossible for a person who has a lost sexual urge to perform this rite. He or she should not even attempt it because it will only lead to discouragement and more harm than good. Instead, such an individual, regardless of age, should first practice the other 5 rites until they regain a normal sexual urge. When this is achieved, he or she may then go into the business of being a superman or superwoman. Also, an individual should not attempt rite number 6 unless he or she is genuinely motivated to do so. If an individual feels incomplete in terms of sexual expression and must struggle to overcome its attraction, then that individual is not truly capable of transmuting reproductive energy and directing it upward. Instead, energy will be misdirected into struggle and inner conflict. The 6th rite is only for those who feel sexually complete and who have a real desire to move on to different goals. For the great majority of people, a celibate life is simply not a feasible choice, and they should perform the first 5 rites only. However, in time the 5 rites may lead to a changing in priorities and genuine desires to become a superman or superwoman. At that time, the individual should make a firm decision to begin a new way of life. Such an individual must be ready to move forward without worrying or looking back. Those who are capable of this are on their way to become true masters, able to use vital life force energy to achieve anything they desire. I repeat, let no one think of turning sexual currents upward until they are prepared to leave physical needs behind in exchange for the rewards of true mastership. Then let the individual step forward and success will crown their effort.